One Night at Flumptys is a perfectly balanced FNAF game. One Night at Flumptys does something that FNAF itself and all FNAF fan games usually really struggle to do, and that's making FNAF feel like FNAF, where it's not overly serious, but is still respectable in horror aspects. One Night at Flumptys isn't very hard, but it can be challenging, especially if you pick the optional hard boil mode. One Night at Flumptys isn't overly long and is very beginner friendly because there's only really one night to the whole entire game. And when you combine all of that with the unique look of One Night at Flumptys, it's no wonder it was such a good game. While of course the gameplay in the first one might not be the best, the second one will fix all those problems. One Night at Flumptys 2 would change everything. Instead of having doors to defend yourself, you now have to rely on a light, and when an animatronic appears, you must turn this light off, or your exposure meter will go up. This exposure meter pretty much represents how much life you have left. Once that bar reaches full, you get jump scared. This mechanic is very interesting. On one side, it allows players to make mistakes. But even though it allows you to make mistakes, the mistakes never leave, and after a while, they total up to your death. And the last major difference is the owl. This character will attack you even when the lights are off, so your only way to stop him is to make sure to close the vent you see him flying through. One Night at Flumptys 2 was a very big upgrade from the original, and it definitely helped the game to push its way forward to the next iteration. ONAF 3 will take it up a notch, requiring way more skill than the past two games. It would also introduce two new mechanics. The first new mechanic is the furnace. The furnace is needed to keep your temperature up, and of course, if your temperature goes down, you freeze to death. The other mechanic will be the camera flashes. These are used to defend yourself from the animatronics because in this version of the game, you do not have any doors. But besides that, the game would overall be pretty simple and pretty For the first time ever, One Night at Flumptys will have a second night. This night will be insane as instead of the regular animatronics, everyone is literally Flumpty. I will definitely give credit where credit is due. This is one of the most unique final nights in a game I have ever seen. As the night progresses, more and more mechanics and animatronics will be introduced. Some mechanics we were already familiar with, like the exposure meter, but then there will be completely new mechanics like the laser doors and literally flipping cameras. And what I mean by that is like literally the cameras, like where they are, would shift around and you would have to learn that mechanic or you would die multiple times. On top of this, around 4 AM, the game just loses it. The power just randomly goes from 1 to 100%. The time changes constantly. Your heat changes constantly. You truly don't know what you have anymore, and you're just fighting for your life. But luckily, a catchy tune starts to play. And when this tune ends, the night finally is over. Flumpty decides to finally let you go, to keep his promise, and you're so excited to leave, only to find out that he's destroyed the world you worked so hard to get back to. When you have a game like this, with insane lore, and a mixture of crazy, you get a unique and special game. And this is why One Night at Flumptys will forever be the perfect mixture of goofy and terrifying.